Rain streaked down the glass like a slow bleed, the kind that refused to wash away what had already stained. Maya Ellis stood in line at Bruheim Café, clutching her phone, her blazer damp from the storm. She'd just left a morning meeting that could seal her tech company's next expansion. Her pulse still thrummed with momentum. "Next," called the barista. Pale, clipped eyes flicking toward her name tag. "Manager L. Hunter." Maya smiled politely. "Large caramel latte oat milk, please." The manager's smile didn't reach his eyes. "We're not serving corporate solicitors today." Maya blinked. "Excuse me?" He gestured vaguely toward her tailored suit. "You people come in here trying to hand out cards, sell whatever." "Not today, ma'am. Please step aside." A soft murmur rippled through the cafe, phones lifted, screens glinting like judgment. Maya's chest tightened. She wasn't selling anything. She was a CEO, the CEO. "I'm a customer," she said evenly. "I'd like my order." The man's voice dropped low enough for everyone to hear. "We reserve the right to refuse service. Company policy." Her throat burned. Around her, people watched, silent, complicit, curious. The espresso machine hissed, a cruel punctuation. Then someone snickered near the counter. "Guess she doesn't look like the kind that owns a card." The line froze. Maya's phone buzzed, her assistant's call. Her reflection in the screen looked too calm for what she felt. She pressed record. "Repeat that," she said. The manager straightened, suddenly unsure. Outside, thunder cracked. And inside that small cafe, everything began to change. Rain still clung to Maya's sleeves as she sat in her car, parked a block from the cafe that now looked smaller, almost fragile through the wet windshield. The video file blinked on her screen. 2 minutes, 48 seconds. Her reflection hovered over the paused frame of the manager's smirk. Her assistant, Rhea, sat beside her, phone trembling in her hands. "You sure you want to post it?" Maya exhaled. The air felt tight, metallic. "He told me I wasn't the kind that owned a card." "What kind of person is that, Rhea?" "The internet eats everything," Rhea said quietly. "Including people." Maya tapped upload. Within an hour, the clip burned through timelines. Hashtags forming, reshaping, multiplying. Coffee while black trended by noon. By evening, news outlets called for statements. Inside Bruheim, the manager stood behind the counter, jaw tight as reporters appeared outside. "No comment," he repeated, hiding behind corporate scripts. At Maya's office, screens glowed with reactions. Disbelief, anger, mockery. Some voices defended her. Others accused her of playing the race card. "Ma'am," said her publicist, sweat beading under the fluorescent light, "we can issue a soft response." "Something about misunderstanding." "No," Maya interrupted. "We don't dilute truth." The conference room fell silent. Her CFO shifted uncomfortably. "We can't risk alienating investors. You're the face of a company now, not a movement." Maya stared at the reflection of the rain-soaked city through the glass. Maybe both can exist. Her phone buzzed again, an unknown number. She answered. A man's voice. "Ms. Ellis, this is Mark Benton from Bruheim Corporate. We'd like to resolve this quietly." "Quietly," she repeated, the word tasting bitter. "Yes, we take these matters seriously, but a public controversy helps no one." "You mean it helps you least," she said. A pause, then the click of a disconnected call. Outside, the storm had passed. But inside her chest, something heavier began to build. Not rage, but recognition. The kind that doesn't fade. She opened her laptop, typed a caption above the video, and hit send again. "For everyone who's ever been told they don't belong, I do." The post went viral overnight, and by morning, the war had begun. By sunrise, Maya Ellis had become a headline. Her face appeared on every feed, every morning talk show, every blog that needed a fresh controversy. The video from Bruheim Cafe was now content, replayed, dissected, slowed down, captioned. Commentators debated whether it was really racism or just bad service. Maya sat at her kitchen counter, black coffee untouched, watching strangers analyze the worst. 2 minutes of her life, she overreacted. That manager was just following policy. This is what happens when people play the victim card. Each voice felt like a pebble hitting glass. Sharp. Endless, Rhea texted her. Trending #1 worldwide. You should see Twitter. It's chaos, Maya typed back. No, I've seen enough. Then she turned off her phone, but silence didn't last. Her company board called an emergency meeting. Optics, said Daniel Cho, her chief financial officer. We have to consider the optics. Maya sat across the long table, hands folded, expression neutral. You mean survival, he sighed. Investors are skittish. You're the public image of Ellison Tech. We built our brand on neutrality, innovation, not activism. Rhea, sitting near the end, looked up from her notes. So we ignore blatant racism because it's inconvenient. Daniel winced. I'm saying we can't become the story. Maya's voice was steady, but every word cut. I didn't become the story, Daniel. It found me, he leaned forward. Maya, you're brilliant, but this could spiral. People online are calling for boycotts. Not just against the cafe, against you. They think you staged it. The room went still. Staged it, Maya repeated. You think I'd humiliate myself for clicks? That's not what I said. It's what you implied. Rhea's pen stopped moving. This is what they do. Question her credibility until the truth looks messy. Daniel rubbed his temples. This is business, not sociology. No, Maya said, standing. It's both. And business doesn't erase humanity. She left before he could answer. The elevator doors closed behind her like the period at the end of an ugly sentence. By noon, Bruheim released a statement. We are aware of the incident circulating online. Bruheim Cafe values inclusion and diversity. However, we believe this video misrepresents the full interaction. Within minutes, their corporate account posted a grainy clip from another angle, a few seconds before Maya spoke. The caption read, Context matters. The internet split apart. See? She came in filming already. She wanted a reaction. Classic setup. Rhea barged into Maya's office, laptop in hand. They edited the footage. Look, they cut out his first line completely. Maya barely looked up. Expected. When truth threatens power, they manufacture context. Her phone rang again. News producers wanted interviews. Influencers wanted collabs. Some journalists asked if she'd forgive the manager for the sake of healing. Forgive. The word curled around her like smoke. She closed her eyes and remembered his tone. Calm. Dismissive, perfectly polite. The kind of racism that smiles as it locks the door. That night, she scrolled through thousands of comments despite herself. She's intimidating. Why does she always look angry? I bet she was rude first. Then one message caught her breath. From unknown subject. You people never learn. No content. Just that line. Her fingers hovered over the delete button, but she didn't press it. She stared at the words until they blurred. The next morning, she met with her legal advisor. Defamation suits are hard to win, he warned. They'll argue corporate misunderstanding, not racism. I'm not suing for money, Maya said. I'm suing for truth. He looked at her carefully. That's a longer, lonelier road. I know. By day 3, the cafe's sales dropped 40%. Protesters appeared outside, some holding signs, others live streaming. Police cars idled nearby, engines humming. Inside the glass storefront, the same manager stood by the register, pale, sweating. We didn't do anything wrong, he muttered to a coworker. She made me look like a monster. The coworker said nothing. Cameras were everywhere now. Across town, Maya sat in her office with the blinds drawn. Rhea entered quietly. The mayor just made a statement. We should let due process play out. Translation, don't touch it. Maya nodded. Expected. Also, Rhea added, your mother called. She said she's proud, but she's worried. Maya smiled faintly. She should be. This isn't a battle. It's a system, Rhea frowned. You're not backing down, are you? Maya turned her laptop toward her, eyes like steel. No, I'm building a record. That night, she wrote her first op-ed. I was told to move aside in a cafe I've invested in. Told I didn't belong. But this isn't about coffee. It's about who gets to define dignity. I won't whisper to make anyone comfortable. I've built a company from nothing. Not to be tolerated, but to be recognized. She read it once, twice. Then clicked publish. Within hours, her words were everywhere again. Quoted, reframed, weaponized. But amid the noise, something different stirred. Messages poured in from people who'd lived the same humiliation, denied promotions, followed in stores, called too confident. I thought it was just me. Your story gave me courage. Don't stop. For the first time since the cafe, Maya allowed herself to feel something close to calm. Not victory. Not yet, but power, quiet, measured, and growing because now the world was watching. And she wasn't alone anymore. 3 days after the op-ed, Maya received a call that didn't come from a public line. Private number. Calm masculine voice. Ms. Ellis, this is Jonathan Reeves, Senior Counsel for Bruheim Corporate. We'd like to discuss an amicable resolution. She didn't answer immediately. The sound of his tone, crisp, measured, trained in containment, told her everything. I'm listening, she said finally. We regret how this situation has escalated, Reeves continued. It's in neither party's interest to let this damage reputations. Our board has authorized a confidential settlement. How confidential? Completely. You sign a non-disclosure agreement, we release a formal apology, and you receive compensation for the emotional distress. Compensation, Maya repeated, voice flat. You mean silence, a pause. Then let's call it closure. She ended the call without replying. An hour later, Rhea burst into her office. You got the same offer? Maya nodded. They want quiet money. They're scared. They should be. The assistant's expression flickered. What if they twist this? Say you're extorting them. Maya leaned back in her chair. They'll try. But I won't let them set the language this time. Rhea hesitated. Maya, this is getting dangerous. You've been getting threats. The police aren't even following up properly. Because it's not urgent when it happens to people like me. The words hung heavy. Outside, traffic hummed, ordinary life continuing as if her world hadn't shifted. That evening, Bruheim's PR head, a woman named Natalie Crane, requested an in-person meeting. Against advice, Maya agreed. The restaurant was upscale, polished, too quiet. Natalie arrived in beige, the color of diplomacy. Ms. Ellis, she said smoothly, extending a manicured hand. Thank you for meeting. I admire what you've built. Truly. Maya shook it, expression unreadable. Admiration usually doesn't come with gag orders. Natalie smiled, practiced. You have every right to feel hurt. But we both know public outrage burns fast. Let's redirect it before it consumes you too. Consumes me, Maya repeated. Yes, the internet forgets quickly, but not kindly. Today they're cheering you. Tomorrow they'll find something else, or someone else, and to tear apart. Maya sipped her water. So your advice is to vanish quietly? Not vanish, Natalie said. Evolve, accept a settlement. Join Bruheim's Diversity Advisory Board. Use your influence constructively. Maya's laugh was low, almost a whisper. You mean use my trauma as branding? Perspective, Natalie corrected softly. The silence that followed was longer than the conversation. Then Maya stood. Tell your board, I don't trade dignity for access. As she walked out, Natalie called after her. You're making a career-ending mistake. Maya didn't turn. You'd be surprised how many careers start that way. The next morning, her email flooded with anonymous sources and urgent concerns. Several claimed to have internal documents showing Bruheim's regional managers were coached to de-escalate minority complaints to avoid headlines. Rhea printed one. If this is real, it's huge. It's real, Maya said. And they're terrified it's coming out. She sent the documents to her lawyer, who warned her again. They'll counter with defamation. They'll call it fabricated. Then let them. They created this playbook. By the weekend, a major network requested an interview. Maya agreed. On one condition. No pre-screened questions. The anchor smiled too brightly as the cameras rolled. So, Ms. Ellis, people say your video started a national conversation about race in business. Do you feel responsible for the outrage? Outrage comes from truth ignored too long, Maya replied. Responsibility belongs to those who caused it. Do you think the manager should lose his job? I think accountability starts where excuses end. The segment aired that night. Half the audience called her powerful. The other half called her arrogant. But the clip of her final line, calm, steady, unwavering, trended across platforms. Silence is how systems survive. Not today. 2 days later, Bruheim filed a legal motion accusing Maya of defamatory intent. Rhea threw the papers onto Maya's desk. They're really doing this. Good, Maya said. Now it's on record. She opened her laptop and began typing a statement for her company site. If defending one's dignity threatens a corporation, the problem isn't the defense, it's the corporation. When she posted it, the comments came in waves. Some furious, some admiring, all loud. Then, late that night, an email appeared from Jonathan Reeves again. Subject, final offer. Message, you've made your point. Walk away before you lose more than reputation. She stared at the screen for a long time. Her reflection looked calm. Too calm. Then she hit reply. See you in court. The next morning, the lawsuit headline broke across every major outlet. Black CEO files discrimination suit against Bruheim. Daniel, her CFO, stormed into her office. This is suicide. Do you realize what kind of pressure they can apply? Yes, Maya said, eyes never leaving the window. That's why they're going to feel it too. Investors will run. Let them. I'd rather rebuild with integrity than expand on silence. He shook his head. You can't fight corporations like this. Maya turned, gaze steady. I'm not fighting a corporation. I'm fighting a pattern. That night she sat alone in her living room, lights dimmed, laptop screen glowing faint blue. Outside, a storm gathered again, same as the night it began. Her inbox buzzed with threats, support, hate, love, all tangled, all human. She closed it. For a long time, she simply breathed. Then, under her breath, almost like a prayer, let them see what silence costs. The thunder answered and the real war began. The night before the first court hearing, Maya couldn't sleep. The storm had passed hours ago, but its echo still rolled somewhere deep inside her chest. She stood by the window, city lights scattering across the wet pavement like fractured stars. Somewhere below, a siren wailed and faded. She thought she'd left this feeling years ago, and that quiet, gnawing certainty that no matter how far she'd climbed, she was still standing on someone else's terms. The memory came uninvited. 7 years earlier, Maya, 24, fresh out of grad school, hair tied tight, portfolio clutched like armor. She was waiting in the lobby of a financial firm for her first real job interview. The receptionist, a young white woman with an apologetic smile, had asked her twice if she was there to make a delivery. No, Maya had said, forcing a polite smile. Interview with Mr. Collins, 9:30? Oh, the woman had murmured, blinking as if recalibrating reality. Right, one moment. When she was finally called in, the room smelled of polished wood and cologne. Mr. Collins sat behind a wide desk, smiling thinly. Impressive resume, he'd said, flipping through the pages. You must be very driven. I try to be, Maya had answered. He nodded slowly. We value professionalism here. Cultural fit is very important. Of course. Tell me, he said, leaning back. How would you handle working in a team that's not used to your kind of energy? She'd hesitated. You mean? He'd smiled wider. Ambition. Confidence, you know how it can come across sometimes. The air had thickened. I'd handle it by doing my job well, she'd said quietly. His pen tapped the table. Good answer. She hadn't gotten the job. Now, standing in her penthouse office years later, Maya realized that moment never truly ended. It had only evolved, becoming more polite, more polished, more lethal. The cafe manager hadn't said anything new. He'd just spoken in a smaller room with worse lighting and better witnesses. Rhea entered quietly, holding 2 mugs. You're awake. Couldn't sleep. Neither could I. Rhea handed her a mug. You ever think about walking away? Maya gave a half smile. I did, once. It didn't feel like walking. It felt like shrinking. Rhea sat down on the couch. You know, my mom saw your video. She said it reminded her of the first time she was followed in a store. She never told me that before. Maya turned. That's what this is about. The stories that never leave the room. Still, Rhea murmured, you're carrying all of them now. Someone has to, Maya said simply. The next morning, Maya went for a walk before dawn. The city was half asleep. Newspaper trucks, wet asphalt, air tasting like metal and caffeine. She passed the Bruheim Café. It was still closed. Windows dark, for lease sign in the corner. She stopped, staring at her reflection in the glass where the incident began. For a moment, she saw both versions of herself, the one standing small, humiliated, and the one who refused to bow. They looked at each other across the thin barrier of time. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You'll regret dragging this out. You're ruining lives. She pocketed the phone, eyes still on the window. No, she whispered. I'm revealing them. Later that day in her company's legal meeting, her lawyer read out the official counterclaim from Bruheim. They're asserting you provoked the confrontation, citing tone escalation. They claim the manager felt threatened. Maya almost laughed. Threatened by what? A woman ordering coffee? The lawyer sighed. They'll dress it in corporate language, training protocols, customer misidentification, policy errors. It's how systemic bias hides behind forms and policies. Rhea clenched her jaw. And they'll get away with it. Not this time, Maya said. We'll make the system explain itself out loud. That evening, she visited her mother. The older woman opened the door, apron dusted with flour, eyes warm but heavy with worry. Maya, child, this fight, it's eating you. I'm fine. Her mother shook her head. No, you're surviving. That's different. Maya sat at the kitchen table, staring at the old photographs. Her graduation, her father's faded smile. Their first apartment, you always said to stand tall, she murmured. Yes, her mother said softly, but I didn't say to stand alone. Maya met her eyes. If I don't, no one else will. Her mother took her hand. Maybe, but remember, justice without rest turns into revenge. Maya didn't reply. She just held her mother's hand a moment longer, feeling the weight of generations pressing through skin and bone. Back home, she opened her old job rejection letter from the firm that had called her a poor fit. She'd kept it all these years, tucked behind awards and achievements, not as bitterness, but as proof. She placed it beside the new lawsuit. 2 papers, different decades, same handwriting of bias. The storm outside returned. Wind rattling the glass, Maya whispered to the night. I've seen this before. Her reflection stared back, tired, unbent, alive. The past had repeated itself, but this time, it was being recorded. By the second week of the lawsuit, the story had gone global. What began as a viral clip now pulsed through the veins of international media. Panel debates, op-eds, podcasts dissecting corporate racial optics. Half the country saw Maya as a symbol of courage. The other half called her divisive. Maya ignored both. Symbols didn't win cases. Facts did. The day began with a meeting in her glass-walled conference room. Her legal team filled one side of the table. Her senior executive sat opposite, tense and restless. We've confirmed multiple internal leaks, said her lawyer, flipping through files. Emails from Bruheim's management training sessions. Phrases like minimize cultural tension complaints and avoid escalation narratives. It's textbook bias management. Rhea leaned forward. Who leaked them? Anonymous. But they're verified. Maya scanned the pages. Lines of corporate camouflage trying to rationalize discrimination. She exhaled slowly. We released them, quietly. Her lawyer frowned. Strategically, it's risky. We could be accused of manipulation. Truth isn't manipulation, she said. It's correction. By noon, the leaks hit the press. A journalist from the Ledger published the documents under the headline, Inside Bruheim's Diversity Theater, leaked memos reveal image over inclusion. The story exploded. Commentators dissected every line. Former employees came forward with eerily similar experiences. Promotions denied, complaints buried, apologies drafted by PR teams before the victims even spoke. At her office, Rhea watched the chaos unfold online. They're panicking, she said, showing Maya the trending tags. Bruheim exposed our corporate color lines, and this is blowing up fast. Maya didn't smile. Good, but this isn't victory. It's visibility. Rhea raised a brow. Same thing sometimes. No, Maya said quietly. Visibility can fade. I want change that doesn't. Meanwhile, inside Bruheim headquarters, panic spread like static. We need damage control, snapped Natalie Crane in an emergency meeting. Launch a community partnership campaign, sponsor minority-owned businesses, make it look collaborative. Mark Benton, the same man who'd called Maya to resolve quietly, rubbed his temples. We can't PR our way out. Legal's warning us she's building a discrimination precedent. If she wins, we open the door to 100 similar suits. So, Natalie said coldly, we bury her before the verdict. How? Discredit her. That afternoon, Maya's inbox lit up again, this time with a journalist requesting comment on financial inconsistencies allegedly found in her company's filings. Rhea stormed in, phone in hand. They're trying to smear you. They're saying Ellison Tech took illegal tax breaks. Maya didn't look surprised. Predictable. When the system can't silence your truth, it questions your integrity. Her legal counsel entered a minute later, grim-faced. We can prove the claim's false, but it'll take days. They're setting up the narrative now. Angry black CEO, ethically compromised. Maya stood pacing to the window. The city's skyline glimmered like a wall of mirrors. Then we don't play defense. We go public again. That evening she called a press conference. Cameras flashed. The crowd buzzed. She stood at the podium, crisp white blouse, no makeup, no theatrics. You've heard lies, she began. Manufactured stories meant to distract you from one truth. A woman was denied service because of who she is. And when she refused to disappear, a corporation tried to erase her again. That ends now? Reporters shouted questions. Are you saying Bruheim orchestrated the leaks? I'm saying Bruheim has spent more energy covering racism than correcting it. A hush rippled through the room. Then she added, clear and measured. They trained their staff to de-escalate us, not respect us. The phrase hit like a spark to gasoline. By midnight, her speech was everywhere, replayed, subtitled, analyzed. People quoted that one line again and again. They trained their staff to de-escalate us. The next day, Bruheim's stock dipped 11%. Their board held an emergency call. Investors demanded answers. Natalie slammed her phone down after the meeting. We underestimated her, Reeves muttered. She's weaponized truth. And people love a righteous crusade. She's not a crusader, Natalie said darkly. She's a liability, and liabilities get managed. In Maya's office, the mood was both electric and fragile. Supporters sent flowers, letters, donations. But the cost was showing. Dark circles under eyes, unanswered calls from family. Messages from trolls disguised as critics. Rhea found her staring at the news ticker in silence. Don't let them exhaust you, she said gently. Maya blinked. I'm fine. No, you're burning slow. Maya turned toward her. If they're still talking, I'm still visible. Once they stop, that's when they win. Maybe, Rhea murmured, but you're still human. Later that night, a small protest formed outside Bruheim headquarters. Workers, activists, customers. Signs reading, justice isn't a brand and accountability is inclusion. The chants echoed through the street. Maya watched from her car across the road. She didn't join them. She didn't need to. For the first time, the movement no longer needed her face to survive. It had its own. She thought of her mother's words, justice without rest turns to revenge, and exhaled slowly. Then her phone rang again. Ms. Ellis. Her lawyer's voice came through, steady but urgent. They're offering mediation, formal this time. It's a sign of weakness. They want out before this hits court. Maya looked at the lights flickering across the Bruheim logo. Then they'll have to face it in court, publicly. 2 days later, another leak surfaced, this one from an internal video call. The manager, L. Hunter, the same man who denied her service, was seen laughing, saying, she pulled the race card faster than a credit one. The clip ended with him smirking. Corporate will smooth it over. They always do. It was over. The internet erupted again, this time angrier, unified. Even Bruheim's loyalists began deleting supportive posts. Major sponsors froze partnerships. Rhea burst into Maya's office, nearly breathless. It's everywhere. They can't walk this back. Maya sat still. He said what everyone else thought, but never said out loud. Rhea grinned. You just buried their PR machine. Maya shook her head. No, I just made them tell the truth. That night, as the city roared outside, she stood on her balcony, wind pushing through her hair. She thought about how many people would go to work tomorrow in companies just like Bruheim. Quiet racisms, coded phrases, unseen barriers. This wasn't the end. It was just exposure, but exposure was the first crack. And cracks, if left unattended, brought walls down. She turned back toward the glow of her office, where the next day's strategy awaited. Depositions, statements, filings. For the first time since it began, she smiled faintly. Not victory, clarity. Because now the world had seen, and the system was bleeding truth. The hearing room was colder than Maya expected. Rows of cameras lined the back wall. Reporters whispered like vultures in restraint. On one side sat Bruheim's legal battalion, suits in uniform formation. On the other, Maya's lean team, 3 lawyers, 2 assistants, and 1 woman who refused to break. Judge Harmon entered. Court is now in session. The gavel struck. Every sound in the room died instantly. The first witness, Leonard Hunter. The man who started it all. He shifted in his chair, face pale under the fluorescent light. His lawyer's voice was tight. "Mr. Hunter, did you or did you not refuse service to Ms. Ellis due to her race?" I followed policy," he stammered. There was a disturbance. Maya's lawyer rose. "Objection. Clarify the nature of this disturbance." Leonard swallowed. "She was loud. Confrontational. Define loud," Maya's counsel pressed. He hesitated. She raised her voice. "After you refused her order?" "Yes." "So her reaction came after discrimination, not before it." Leonard shifted, hands trembling. "It wasn't discrimination." The lawyer leaned forward. "Then why did you call her one of those types in your written report?" Murmurs spread across the courtroom. Cameras clicked like insects. Leonard froze. "I didn't mean." "Intent is irrelevant," the lawyer said flatly. "Impact is the crime." Bruheim's defense tried to recover, pivoting to corporate policy. They presented glossy slides of diversity programs, smiling stock images, scholarship funds. Maya sat still, hands clasped. She'd seen this playbook before. Representation as defense. When her turn came, she stood. "No notes, no theatrics. Just her. Policies don't absolve culture," she said calmly. "A corporation can hire every color in the spectrum and still treat some as warnings." The judge watched her closely. The defense shifted uneasily. "I'm not here for compensation," she continued. "I'm here for correction. Because until a boardroom feels the cost of bias, change remains charity, not accountability." The courtroom fell silent. Outside, the trial dominated the news cycle. Analysts debated whether Maya had gone too far, whether her fight had turned into vengeance. Inside, she didn't care. The focus wasn't her. It was the system exposed, stripped bare, but the pressure mounted. Emails flooded in, some supportive, others vicious. "You're ruining livelihoods. You're brave. You're the reason they don't hire people like you." She stopped reading them altogether. One evening, after another 12-hour day, Rhea found her alone in the office. "You need rest," Rhea said. "Rest comes after verdict." Rhea sat down across from her. "You're not God, Maya. You can't fix the system alone." Maya's eyes flickered toward her. "I'm not fixing it. I'm forcing it to look in the mirror." Rhea leaned back. "And if it looks away? Then I'll hold the mirror longer." The next hearing, Bruheim's CEO took the stand, Natalie Crane herself. Polished, poised, her expression betrayed nothing. The lawyer began. "Ms. Crane, do you deny that internal memos instructed managers to downplay discrimination complaints?" "I deny that such memos reflect company policy," she said smoothly. "They were misinterpretations. Misinterpretations written by your own HR division. They were not authorized, yet you signed them." Natalie blinked just once before regaining composure. "That's standard corporate sign-off." "I don't read every document." Maya's lawyer smiled slightly. "That's the problem, Ms. Crane. You built a culture so insulated your signature became complicity." The courtroom murmured again. Natalie's mask cracked, if only for a moment. During recess, Maya stood in the hallway, staring at her reflection in a glass pane. Reporters swarmed outside the doors, microphones ready. Rhea approached quietly. "You're making history." Maya didn't turn. "History's just repetition with better cameras," Rhea exhaled. "You really believe that?" Maya finally looked at her. "I believe change comes when the powerful get tired of being exposed." By the 3rd week, the case reached its crescendo. Bruheim's final witness tried to paint Maya as aggressive, emotionally unstable, prone to misreading interactions. Her lawyer countered by playing the leaked video, Hunter's smirk, his slur, his mocking tone. The courtroom went dead silent. No one spoke. No one breathed. Then the judge looked at the defense table and said, "That will be enough." Verdict day arrived. Rain streaked the courthouse steps. The air smelled of metal and tension. Maya walked through the crowd. No bodyguards, no umbrella. Cameras followed every movement. Inside, Judge Harmon read the decision in a monotone voice that somehow shook the room. Bruheim Coffee Corporation is found liable for racial discrimination and workplace bias negligence. Damages to be awarded $12.5 million. The gavel fell. The sound was thunder. Rhea squeezed Maya's hand. You did it. Maya's face stayed calm. No, we proved it. Outside, the media storm erupted again. Reporters shouted, people cheered, others jeered. Maya stepped to the microphones once more. Her voice steady. This was never about a cup of coffee, she said. It was about every unspoken moment where respect was optional. She paused. Cameras flashed. We can't legislate empathy, but we can legislate consequences. Then she turned and walked away. That night, alone in her apartment, she stood at the window again. The city glowed below, loud, alive, indifferent. Her phone buzzed endlessly with congratulations, requests, invitations. She silenced it. For the first time in months, she allowed herself to breathe. But beneath the stillness, she knew something deeper. This wasn't closure. It was awakening. She had forced one corporation to face truth. Tomorrow, another would take its place, and she would be ready. The verdict echoed for days. News anchors dissected it in slow motion. Analysts argued over tone, intent, economics. The hashtag coffee and color trended worldwide. Stock prices dipped, then tumbled. The world had moved on, but inside Bruheim headquarters, panic reigned. Emails leaked. Statements drafted, retracted, rewritten. Natalie Crane, once untouchable, was summoned to an emergency board meeting. Her reflection in the glass conference wall looked older, thinner. Reporters waited outside the building, cameras hungry. Damage control, a board member said. We issue a public apology, pledge reform, and settle remaining suits quietly. Natalie clenched her jaw. And Maya Ellis? She owns part of us now, another said bitterly. Her foundation just bought the local franchise license. She's turning it into a training center for minority entrepreneurs. The silence that followed was heavier than shame. Natalie stared at the table. Then she won. Across town, Maya sat in the gutted remains of the cafe where it all began. The counters had been stripped, the logo removed. Dust motes swirled through morning light. She walked to the exact spot where she'd been refused that day. Her shoes clicked softly on the tile. Funny, she murmured. Same space, different power. Rhea entered holding 2 coffees from a rival shop. You're really buying this place? Already did, Maya replied. And renaming it. Rhea raised a brow. To what? Maya smiled faintly. The Ellis house. They walked the empty floor. Plans scattered on a nearby table. Sketches of classrooms, mentorship spaces, and small business workshops. Rhea stopped. You're not letting yourself rest. Rest is comfort, Maya said. I'm after change, Rhea sighed. You think change doesn't need recovery? Maya didn't answer. Her gaze lingered on the chalk outline from renovation markings. I keep seeing his face, she said quietly. That smirk. That disbelief, Rhea's voice softened. Then make sure no one else has to see it again. Later that day, Maya met with her board. Investors from her tech firm wanted to discuss expansion. Public opinion is on your side, one said. You could leverage this victory. Branding, advocacy, speaking tours. There's capital in moral leadership. Maya's eyes hardened. You think I fought this for publicity? No, the man said carefully. But visibility builds influence. Influence builds leverage, she leaned forward. Leverage is just power dressed in purpose. I don't need followers. I need structure. The room fell silent. That evening, she visited Leonard Hunter's former neighborhood. He disappeared after the verdict, resigned, relocated, forgotten by headlines. But his old neighbors still whispered about the man who'd cost a corporation millions. She didn't come for vengeance. She came to see where ignorance grows. The street was quiet, lined with peeling fences and half-lit porches. A child on a bicycle stopped, recognizing her from TV. You're the lady from the coffee video, he said. Maya smiled faintly. That's me. Mom said you made the mean man lose his job. She crouched down. No, I made a company listen. The boy nodded as if that made sense. Good. Grown-ups don't listen much. Maya watched him ride off, the sound of wheels fading into dusk. Weeks passed. The Ellis house opened its doors. On its first day, the air smelled of new paint and promise. People came, young entrepreneurs, students, single mothers with dreams folded in worn notebooks. Maya moved among them quietly, shaking hands, listening to stories. Each one carried a trace of the same wound, invisible but identical. When a journalist approached for comment, Maya simply said, "This isn't my story anymore." It's theirs, but nights were different. Alone, she replayed everything. The slur, the cameras, the courtroom, the gavel. The noise didn't fade, and it echoed. Her mother called one night. "Child, are you at peace yet?" Maya stared at the ceiling. "No, just awake. That's enough," her mother said. "Awake people move the world." At the next shareholders' meeting, Bruheim's new interim CEO announced sweeping reforms, leadership training, anti-bias audits, a joint partnership with the Ellis Foundation. Reporters asked if Maya trusted the collaboration. "I don't trust promises," she said. "I trust process." Her tone wasn't triumphant. It was measured, like someone who'd seen too much to celebrate small wins. Months later, the cafe reopened under its new name. The first morning, sunlight poured through clean glass. No banners, no speeches, just community. Maya stood behind the counter serving coffee to the first group of trainees. A young woman hesitated before taking her cup. "Ma'am, I watched your trial. You made me believe it's okay to fight back." Maya smiled softly. "It's not just okay. It's necessary." The girl nodded, eyes bright. Outside, a passing pedestrian stopped to read the sign above the door. "The Ellis House, where every voice is served." The wind shifted, carrying the smell of roasted beans and something cleaner, something like renewal. Maya stepped outside, watching strangers laugh under the awning, unaware of the history buried beneath their feet. Ria joined her. "You ever think of selling?" "Never." "Why?" "Because this," Maya said, gesturing to the crowd, "is what winning should look like. Ordinary people no longer afraid to exist." Ria smiled. "And you?" Maya's eyes moved toward the horizon. "I'm still learning to exist too." That night, as the lights dimmed and the last cup was washed, Maya lingered at the doorway. The reflection staring back at her in the glass wasn't the humiliated woman from the video. It was someone forged in fire, tired, scarred, but free. She whispered to the empty room, "They denied me a seat once, so I built the table." Then she turned off the lights. Outside, the city hummed, the sound of change, steady and alive. Morning light cut through the glass facade of the Ellis house, gilding the polished counter where fresh coffee steamed. The hum of conversation filled the space, soft laughter, the scrape of chairs, the low buzz of an espresso machine. Maya stood near the window, notebook open, observing more than writing. The room was alive with motion, young entrepreneurs discussing business plans, single mothers reviewing budgets, volunteers helping teens craft resumes. The air smelled of roasted beans and paper, of work becoming something holy. Her phone buzzed. A message from her assistant. "Natalie Crane requests a meeting, urgent." Maya looked at the text for a long time. Then she typed back, 10 a.m. here. At 10 sharp, Natalie Crane entered. No entourage, no cameras, no polished armor. Just a tired woman in a neutral suit carrying too many ghosts in her posture. Maya gestured toward a seat. "Coffee?" Natalie shook her head. "I don't deserve it." "That's not how this place works," Maya replied evenly. "Everyone gets served." The barista brought 2 cups. Steam rose between them like a fragile truce. Natalie's fingers trembled slightly as she lifted hers. "You turned the brand that humiliated you into a movement." "That's remarkable." "It wasn't about them," Maya said. "It was about us." Natalie nodded slowly. "The board removed me last month. I lost everything." Maya tilted her head. "You lost power." "That's not everything," Natalie swallowed. "Maybe not, but it feels like justice hurts more than guilt." Maya studied her. "That's what it's supposed to do." They sat in silence for a long moment. Outside, the street pulsed with city noise. Sirens, crosswalks, voices layered like history repeating itself. Natalie broke first. "You don't know what it's like to be vilified everywhere you go." Maya's eyes didn't soften. "No, I just know what it's like to live that way your entire life." The words landed like stone on water. Quiet, heavy, inevitable. Natalie looked down. "I came to apologize." "Don't," Maya said. "Apologies are for individuals. Accountability is for systems. Then what do you want from me?" Maya leaned forward. "I want you to build something better, for once without owning it." Natalie nodded weakly. "I can try." "Then start there," Maya said, rising. "And this time don't confuse trying with leading." Natalie stood as well, eyes glassy. You really don't hate me? Hate? Maya repeated. That's too small for what I've seen. Natalie blinked, unable to reply. After she left, Rhea approached. That looked intense. It was overdue. You think she'll change? Maya exhaled. Maybe, maybe not. But she heard truth from someone who wouldn't lower her voice. That's a start, Rhea smiled faintly. You've changed too, you know. Maya looked out the window. No, I just became the person they were afraid I already was. Weeks passed. The Ellis house grew. 3 new branches opened across the city. News outlets called it a revolution in business equity. Corporations began sponsoring similar initiatives to manage their public image. Some sincere, some performative. Maya didn't care. Progress was contagious even when self-serving. One afternoon, a young intern named Jamal knocked on her door. Ms. Ellis? There's someone here you should meet. He stepped aside, revealing Leonard Hunter. Maya froze. Leonard looked smaller, beard unkempt, shirt wrinkled. He held his cap in both hands. Ms. Ellis, he said softly, I didn't know where else to go. Rhea started forward, but Maya raised a hand. It's okay. Leonard swallowed hard. I lost my job. My family moved away. Nobody will hire me. I wanted to say we'd stop. Maya's voice was calm but sharp. You came for forgiveness, he hesitated. I came for work. Silence expanded between them. Rhea stiffened. You can't be serious. Maya didn't look away. Why here? Because, Leonard's voice cracked. Because I saw what you built, and I thought maybe if I worked for something good I could fix what I broke. Maya studied him for a long time. Too long. Then she said, you'll start in sanitation. No contact with customers. No titles, no speeches. You clean, you learn, you stay quiet. Understand? He nodded quickly, eyes wet. Thank you. I won't let you down. Maya turned away. You already did. Just don't repeat it. That night, Rhea confronted her. You really think hiring him is justice? No, Maya said. It's data. I want to see if a man like that can learn humanity through humility. And if he doesn't, then he'll be replaced by someone who already has. Rhea stared. You've become colder. Maya looked up. No, just clearer. Months later, the Ellis House held its first national conference on workplace equity. Leaders, journalists, and activists filled the hall. Maya stood backstage reviewing her notes. Rhea joined her. You ready? I was ready years ago, Maya said. The crowd quieted as she walked to the podium. Cameras flashed. She scanned the room. Young faces, old faces, hopeful faces. Leonard stood at the back, mopping silently, eyes fixed on her. She began. Some people call this redemption. It's not. It's reclamation. We're not rewriting history. We're reassigning ownership. Applause rippled. For too long, equality was measured by access. But true equality is measured by comfort. Who feels safe walking into a room, speaking up, demanding change? Her voice strengthened. And when the day comes that no one has to film their dignity to prove it existed, that's when we'll be free. The audience rose in standing ovation. After the conference, a news anchor asked her for one final statement. Maya looked straight into the camera. They denied me a seat, she said, so I built the franchise. The clip went viral within hours. Not because of anger, but because of calm. Power had changed hands, quietly, permanently. That evening, she walked alone along the waterfront. The city lights shimmered on the dark water. Her phone buzzed and an unknown number again. She almost ignored it, then answered. A familiar voice said softly, Thank you for hiring me. It was Leonard. I didn't do it for you, she replied. I know, he said, but I needed you to hear. I understand now. She didn't respond. She just listened to the sound of his remorse, to the river, to her own breath. When the call ended, she watched the city lights reflect on the current, one ripple meeting another, crossing, blending, fading. Change never came all at once. It came in fragments, more small, sharp, unstoppable. Maya whispered into the wind. Let it spread. The next morning, the Ellis house opened as always. The door chime ringing, coffee brewing, sunlight pouring through clean glass. On the wall near the entrance hung a brass plaque, in memory of every silence that deserved a voice. People passed it daily without stopping. But for Maya, it was the only line that ever mattered. Months later, a new headline appeared, the Ellis model. From outrage to ownership, a national movement. The world had changed. Not perfectly, not completely, but measurably. And somewhere in the back of the cafe, a man once known for cruelty quietly wiped tables, whispering thank you to no one in particular. Maya saw him once, paused and said, "Keep working." He nodded. "Yes, ma'am." She smiled faintly and walked on. Because justice, she'd learned, wasn't the ending. It was the maintenance. That night, she locked up the cafe herself. The sign above glowed in the darkness, letters steady and sure. The Ellis House, where every voice is served. Maya looked up at it, exhaled slowly and whispered, not to the world, not to the system, but to herself, "It's enough." Then she turned off the lights. The city kept breathing. The world kept turning. But this time it turned on different terms.